Atif. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I just started talking about how obviously COVID and the current situation has already affected entertainment, and how now we're going to probably organize more entertainment at home rather than kind of socialize and do it outside of our homes. But this is basically the focus of our conversation today. Atif, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, and then we can start with firing the questions, because we have a lot of questions.
Absolutely. So my name is Atif. I'm director of Zebra Home Cinema. I started the business about 18 months ago. I'm actually a GP by profession, so I'm still working for the NHS. So this is my side business, more of a sort of hobby and enthusiasm I've had for about 2 decades. But I decided to go into the custom install industry, something I'm very, very passionate about, and it sort of complements what I do for the NHS.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, that it's kind of one complements another. So Atif, could you tell us a little bit more about what Zebra Home Cinema actually does?
So Zebra Home Cinema is mainly a consultancy service. So we showcase projects that we've done, so that people can see online what's capable in their own homes, in their areas of entertainment, and we can then advise our clients as to what is possible in the house, what's possible in different rooms, whether they want a media room or entertainment space or a dedicated home cinema. So really the main focus is consultation, and then depending exactly what they want, we will then get in touch with experts in the industry to supply the equipment for their needs to suit their purpose.
Okay. So you've mentioned already a couple of names. You've mentioned media room, you've mentioned home cinema. So how would you define those? What is the difference between a media room and a home cinema?
That's a very good question. There's an organisation called CEDIA, the Custom Electronics Design and Integration Association, and they define, they've got their strict definition of what the difference is, and mine's a little bit more flexible and loose, but loosely speaking, a media room is more like an entertainment lounge, so with multi-function purpose. So you can have like a snooker table in there, or people lounging around casually watching television with some sort of audio system that can have a mix of uses, whether they just want to listen to music in there or watch television. A cinema room is much more of a sort of slightly more serious, dedicated space where the main function of the room is actually to watch film. And that lends itself to being able to control the light very effectively in that room, essentially being able to black things out so that the projector, in most people's cases, functions properly and you get a nice, bright, crisp image. So they're the two main differences in terms of how you use the room.
Okay. So have you noticed kind of an increase in inquiries from homeowners wanting to maybe install home cinema because of the current situation where obviously cinemas are kind of closing down?
Yeah. So yes, it's quite rightly said. I mean, the cinemas have announced closure early on during the lockdown, and then again we had an announcement from Cineworld that they've taken the decision to close cinemas again. And we really don't know what the future is over the next 6 to 12 months. One of the biggest news towards the beginning of the year was that Bond was going to be coming out at the end of the year. Now they've delayed release until next year. Obviously everyone's looking forward to the big release. So there's been very, very unpredictable as to what is actually going to be happening in the cinema industry. And for many businesses, things have been very, very unpredictable. There's been a lot of turmoil. But from the sort of home luxury or home improvement point of view, I'm sure you probably know this better than me. There's a lot of homeowners who have decided, let's get something done to enhance our lives whilst we're enjoying the space at home. And quite rightly, home entertainment, it hasn't really been affected. In fact, and as you mentioned, we're getting quite a few inquiries right now from people who are scrolling on their phones, looking at YouTube, Facebook, and we're currently finishing our third project since the lockdown.
It's brilliant. Yes, I thought that it would be the case where the homeowners would, especially in the present lack of entertainment, that they would want to have something at home that has that feel, and they can just treat it as an entertainment, because we see within the physical constraints of their house. So Atif, you mentioned that Zebra Home Cinema acts basically as a consultancy. So how important would you say is it to involve home cinema specialist, interior designer, when designing and converting a room into home cinema? Because I think there's a lot of aspirations out there. So I'm just gonna wave to everyone who's joined. But how would you say, how important is it to involve somebody? What are some of the main benefits of involving an expert? Early on, of course, not towards the end.
Excellent question. I'm so glad that you asked that. And in fact, it is pretty much the basis of why we're having this discussion today. So when I started the business, one of the things I really wanted to do was reach out to industry experts. And I don't mean people who are audiophiles or people who know everything about televisions or gadgets or projectors, anything like that. At the end of the day, homeowners are very proud of their homes, they're proud of their decoration, of their entertainment and living spaces. Some of these people have spent fortunes decorating their homes in a certain style. And when they decide we'd like an entertainment space, we want to work with our clients, we want to work with homeowners who are very, very proud of what they've achieved and help deliver something that's fantastic on performance, but is in very much keeping with their interior decor. We don't want everyone to have a back cave just to enjoy movies. And so getting in touch with architects and interior designers is actually crucial to having the end plan that people are really, really going to enjoy, that's very comfortable within their living space. Everyone's got very, very different tastes. If I take it to the hi-fi world, you can do a Google search and look up the most expensive hi-fi systems in the world, and when you look at these pictures, you'd be horrified that it's probably easier to end your relationship than to get one of these big transformer type things in your living room. It's a bit crazy. So there's always a balance between performance and what is aesthetically pleasing and acceptable in someone's home.
Yes, exactly. I think it's very important to talk to specialists, to experts right at the beginning, just to be able to, like you said, to quite rightly integrate performance and aesthetic. Because if it's just performance, if it's just aesthetic, obviously those two kind of have to be combined and married together. And I think that gives any homeowner the most optimum results. Sorry, go on.
Another important point when you're working with your clients, if they, for instance, mention something to you, we'd like an entertainment space in this room, it's really nice and important for you to be in a position to say, I can assist you with that. I've already got a fair of a design in mind, and we know what sort of colour schemes we're going for. But I remember you told me you don't want to see any speakers in the room. We can help you with that, because we'll go over to our associates who can say, yes, we can certainly deliver on that in keeping with what my vision of the room is.
Yes, that's right. So talking a little bit more about the whole process, because I think there our listeners are probably interested in how long does the process of creating a home cinema take, let's say from the initial meeting to the final installation. What does it depend on? Because we get to ask that question of how long is my project going to take? Well, it all depends on the size of the project and what you'd like us to do. But I was just wondering how it works with the home cinema.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, if we say how long will this painting take? Well, what would you like painted? If you want a matchstick drawing of a man and hangman or something, it is a certain thing. If you want Picasso look-alike, it might take a little bit longer. So it all depends on the room. It depends on the initial structure of the room, any complexities. So for instance, if we're talking about a media room, most people like TV and speakers sunk in the front wall because it's just aesthetically pleasing. They don't want to see anything popping out. So then we'll discuss things like, well, let's create some stud work, bring the wall out so the TV can be sunk in. Let's plasterboard that, get the speakers in position. Are we going for paint? Are we going for wallpaper? Do you want surround speakers also hidden in the walls, which means more stud work? Do you want a Dolby Atmos immersive audio system where you have channels in the ceiling? That means we need to make sure that there's a void in the ceiling for the speakers to go in. So depending on the complexity of the system will determine which tradespeople we need to get involved and how long that will take. For most garage conversions, you need to appoint an architect or someone who's very good at technical drawings. You also need to get a building inspector involved, usually from the council. And if there's things like a pressurized water cylinder in the garage that needs moving, or your gas meter, you have to look at all of these different complexities right from the beginning.
It becomes more complex.
Once the work is underway, there's certain things that literally take a few days to get done, whether it's stud work. The actual audiovisual installation in terms of the cabling and the speakers normally probably takes 2 to 3 days. So vast majority of projects.
What about the actual availability? Yeah, so I think there's a bit of a delay, Atif. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I wanted to ask about the availability of the systems. Are they usually available? Because, for example, in our profession, we need to wait quite some time for kitchens, for bespoke joinery, for bespoke furniture. It can take up to 8 weeks. If we get bespoke racks, sometimes even 15 weeks, depending where they come from. So just curious about the lead times of the actual products to be installed, because usually installation is very time consuming. It's just the making of each particular element or thing.
So obviously pre-COVID things were quite streamlined, so depending where the country of where the stuff's coming from, you pretty much have a very good idea as to what's being delivered when. A lot of the distributors at the moment, they've got a lot of things in stock, but if they're for instance, if our run-of-the-mill stuff is usually available within next day delivery because it's stored here in the UK. If we're talking about projector screens, the majority of the screens that we order come from the USA, and that can take anything between 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the spec of the screen. The screens, for instance, these are not things off-the-shelf products. They have to be manufactured from scratch because it depends on what size you're ordering, the fabric, whether you want masking, whether the shape can change. Whereas most of the electronics type products, these are normally shipped in boxes and that they're readily available. For the sort of more high-end things that we do, a lot of the, like Steinway Lingdorf, a lot of the products come from Denmark. So again, it all depends on actual journey across the sea and then customs. So for that sort of gear, we're probably talking about 2 to 3 week lead time. Okay,
so they can vary greatly. Depending on the manufacturer and the complexity, as I thought.
When we talk about seating, for instance, and we're talking about say bespoke cinema seating, again depending on the origin, there are certain things customers can buy from Amazon or off the shelf which are stored here, and they can get those quickly. But as you'll notice with most furniture shops, some, as you said before, some seating can take up to sort of 4 to 6 months to be delivered. Again, the seating coming from America, that will normally take, again, about 4 to 6 weeks, depending whether you're getting on a plane and you pay extra for that, or getting on a ship, which will probably take 2 to 3 months.
Yes, yeah, as unfortunately, yeah. And COVID is probably not helping with the lead times either. So let's move on to the average cost, because I think like I said, a lot of homeowners have these aspirations of home cinemas, of media rooms, probably more home cinemas. I would imagine, especially now with the current situation of cinemas being closed down. what is an average cost of converting, maybe not a garage, but let's say an existing room in a house that has been kind of a dumping zone for many years, or used to be a TV room, but now it wants to be a home cinema? What would be like kind of an average cost, not something very low end, not something super high end and bespoke? What should the clients or homeowners be looking at or considering?
Again, very important question. There's so much variability, and again, this all comes down to the practical application and who's doing the work and how complex do we make this. So, if you're doing DIY job, it's very, very cheap, comparatively cheap to get yourself a projector and a projection screen and a very basic digital audio system. You can get set up for £2,000 to £3,000. A little bit of decorating work and have something that's a lot better than just your TV mounted on the wall. When you're talking about getting a little bit more complicated, where the majority of the clients want to be able to control the light in the room, they want to be able to control all their gadgets and things from a single device, including their heating or other aspects of the home. A lot of our clients end up wanting some form of home automation. Then the prices increase because you're obviously paying for a very, very different application. For a media room, some rooms have got a fireplace that needs removing. You need to get a gas safety engineer to come and make sure that the pipes are sealed off and that they're safe. Then you can build up the stud work. So if you're just talking about a very basic room, you can get set up for maybe £2,000 to £3,000 with a little bit of decorative work. Building costs may be anything between £500 to £2,000. Then obviously you just pay for decoration. With a double garage conversion, assuming that you want a dedicated cinema room because people want the space, the advantage is usually there's no windows in there, so they can get the room completely blacked out. Usually the building itself to convert a double garage into a habitable space will be something in the region of £15,000 to £20,000, again depending on complexity. Then you have to pay for the audiovisual equipment. On average, that's anything between sort of £7,000 to £10,000 plus, and then decoration on top of that, and then seating on top of that. So average for a double garage conversion, by the time the project is finished, is anything between £25,000 to £50,000.
That's a good indication, I think, for those who are thinking about it. What about if you have an existing room and you have windows in that room? How would you go about it?
So I've got in the lounge here, I've got 3 reasonably sized windows in here, plus one huge window. Before I converted this room, it used to be a snooker room for entertainment for the previous homeowners. As soon as I walked in here, first thing I wanted to do was put a TV on the wall and get speakers put in. And the TV wall is right opposite where the windows are, so vast majority of people who come here who are normal will sit down and enjoy the television. All I can see are window reflections on the screen, and I can't enjoy the content, and it does my head in. So for me, when you demonstrate this, controlling the light in the room actually becomes quite important. Now, if you've bought, say, a £4,000 or £5,000 OLED television, where the black levels and the contrast and the colours meant to be absolutely superb, it's like watching a giant iPhone. You spent £4,000 or £5,000 on that, or you've splashed out on a £10,000 projector. You'll notice as soon as you let light leak into the room, the image quality is poor. It completely ruins what you're looking at. And so this is where it becomes important that you should be able to control the light in the room for different moods, and whether you want to get automated blinds and certainly dimming the light in the room, and you'll know this better than me, it can completely change the mood and the atmosphere to what you want to use the room for.
Lighting is a completely another subject. We sometimes collaborate with lighting designer through UOG She helped us design the scheme for it, so travel. And I think as much as we know, obviously we have to know quite a lot about lighting. We're not lighting specialists, so the difference that makes to this scheme is amazing. And obviously there's other things like with regards to window treatment, blackout fabric, dimmable fabrics. I mean, we are installing those kind of on regular basis in clients' homes, even for kind of non-entertainment rooms, because I think people want to have that flexibility in how much light they let in. And also for us, it's great if we can play a little bit with the mood thanks to fabrics. There are also amazing acoustic fabrics, which basically, and acoustic wallpapers, which are absolutely amazing. And that's another story. I'll get me started. I'm absolutely fascinated with how advanced the technology is now for even things like fabrics. So yeah, it's quite exciting, I would say. So Atif, what else would you advise a homeowner wanting a media or a cinema room in their home? What would be, like, if you could maybe give a few tips to finish off, what would be the most important things to consider?
So when clients approach me, I make an appraisal as to exactly what it is, what are we trying to achieve in here, and these are questions as basic as, who's going to be using the room? Tell me about your lifestyle. What sort of things do you want to do in here? Is it a dedicated room just to watch movies? Do you want a separate room where music's important? Is it a family entertainment lounge where the kids can play video games, or we parents can maybe watch something during the evening? So what is the main application for that particular room, and who's going to be using it? And then you need to decide what visual display is best suited to your needs. Do you want a big television, or is it mainly movies, in which case we need to discuss a fixed screen or a motorized screen or a projector, or like in my room, both. I have to demonstrate in here the power of television as well as the magic of movies. So I've got both in here. So it's very, very important.
Very lucky.
Well, it's for demonstration purposes. So it's really important to discuss with the homeowner exactly how they're going to use the room, what's important to them.
Yeah, so the brief, yes.
Yeah, and then what you'll also discover somewhere down the line is that you'll be able to plant ideas that may not have been evident from day one. They may have had a completely different vision of how they're going to use that room, where in fact you walk around the house and you think, well, hold on, you've got a couple of rooms here and this space is completely unused, and instead it's for storing junk. You can have something fabulous in there and something, to watch television in this other room, which is the formal lounge, which never gets used, and it's sort of not loved. And what I try and get people to do is just think slightly outside the box in terms of what they're trying to achieve. And also it's very important to also discuss what people want, what they desire, what's in their head, but also be very, very realistic in terms of what you can deliver.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we do very similar kind of thing, that talking and understanding, talking through requirements, scope of work, but also preparing clients for the reality. Sometimes it's a budgetary reality, sometimes it's the reality of what's achievable, what's feasible. Most of the time, with the right budget, anything is achievable, but very often it's finding that balance between the requirements, the needs, the wants, the dreams, and affordability and feasibility. Okay, wonderful. Well, I think I don't have any more questions. I think I've covered everything I wanted to find out. I hope that everyone who's watched us or who will be watching us will find this very useful. And of course, if anyone here is interested in having a media room or a home cinema, then you can contact Atif. Zebra Home Cinema is on Instagram, is on Facebook. If you're not sure, you can also ask me. I'll be happy to connect you to Atif. Atif, thank you so much for finding time in your busy schedule.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Just one last thing.
Yes.
I think it's also important about the cross collaboration, that, you know, none of us are experts in everything, and there's so much to gain from,
of course, yeah,
like myself. And it's so good to be able to collaborate, and to, at the end of the day, let homeowners and clients know that this isn't just a one-man band, but we've got all the people, the experts in their own fields, to come together to give you something that's out of this world. So I really, really appreciate taking your time to let me share your platform. So it was very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. It was great to learn more about home cinema, and very soon we'll be probably collaborating on the project with Atif. So watch the space. It will be probably a couple of months, but we're ready for it. Thank you so much again, Atif, and speak to you soon.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.